All right, let's begin.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see all your faces. This is a tough topic. Many companies are struggling and searching for solutions on what they can do to get their people ready to return to the office. Hayworth and DBI are researching this, and we have a variety of resources we've combined into one presentation to help us safely get back to work. It's not just about putting up plexiglass screens and stickers on the floor. We want to go deeper in this conversation with you and really look at the things we can do to create a safer workplace for everyone. Here's an overview of what we're going to cover: how to support employee well-being and make sure they feel ready to come back so they can be successful. How to preserve the organizational culture of your business. What will need to happen to transform the floor plate, and suggestions on how to get that done. Planning the necessary facility changes that can happen right away and things that will take more time. We'll also discuss the role of remote working. Last, we put together a list of things you can do today which can help create a safer workplace. Navigating the new normal. I can't help but think about the word normal. And the nature of what we used to know as normal is dramatically different today. We're all learning the definition of our new normal. In March, we quickly grabbed what we thought we needed from our desk and headed home. We've all done our best to learn how to be safe at home and in our lives, understanding physical distancing, following health and safety concerns as the recommendations develop. But how do we take our own ideas of safety to the workplace? And how do we make sure our people know what to do? How do we keep people safe, secure, and effective? Finding the balance of how to create personal interaction and virtual collaboration will be vital for our well-being. So many considerations. I think this should really say so many questions. It feels like we're all still learning more and more on what to do each day. We can only work with what we know now. No matter the complexity of your return plan, these are good questions to start finding your company's solution. I've even asked myself this question: how do we remain positive and focused? I had an idea. I did a simple change to my email signature for a few weeks. Every day, I'd add a new positive thought for the day at the end of my email. My goal was just to offer a momentary positive thought for people I communicated with. But I was really surprised how many people reached out to me, thanking me for offering positivity. There are three primary performance drivers to review as we navigate the workplace return: human, organizational, and facility. With employee well-being, think of this: your people are paramount to the success of your business. Without people, there would be no business. I like that statement because it really reminds me of how important we really are. It's critical that you give your employees confidence to return to the office, so when they're ready to return, they can perform for you successfully. Understanding and preserving your company's culture is really important, so your identity is still represented to your people and to your customers. Transforming the floor plate will be necessary, as some things will need to change in order to bring people back safely. It's important to understand the work being done and how this work will need to change in a post-COVID workplace. Look at your entire space. Consider the entry points and circulation areas. Look at where people meet and what happens when they meet. People need to be able to move around, so flexibility will be really important. Repurposing some areas will be necessary to address your change in density. Now let's discuss each area of focus in more detail. Employee well-being means supporting people's physical and psychological help to build confidence and enhance performance. The elements of a space can encourage certain behaviors and will optimize performance. As companies react to the pandemic, it's easy to lose sight of this, but it's important to plan for this and create a safe place that also inspires confidence. I really like this picture because it's a simple example of a way to support employee well-being. Make sure your employees can work in a safe place that offers these elements: views of daylight, views of nature. This can be physical, like seeing trees outside or plants inside. This can be built into the building, like artwork or even wallpaper. Connecting with nature helps increase productivity, boost immunity, and reduce stress. Making workspaces flexible requires furnishings that can change in tandem with the pace of work. I'm not just talking about height adjustable tables. Non-handed mobile furnishings can make it easy to quickly reconfigure workspaces as needed to provide individual comfort, especially as work needs change. And finally, I know it may sound silly, but having views of other people is also important. Even being around people, from a safe distance, of course, feels good. I can tell you that in my experience working remotely, being alone can feel very isolated. I've even caught myself talking to my cat like she was human. Here's another example you may relate to. When I was on maternity leave, I was away from the office for 6 weeks. I can still remember how refreshing it felt just to talk to other adults and just seeing other people. Here's the second area of focus: organizational culture. Why does workplace culture matter? Your organizational culture is who you are. Preserving your company's culture empowers your workforce. It gives your people the drive to succeed. There are 3 driving factors that make up your culture. Values are an organization's mission on how it represents itself. DBI has a simple mission statement: excellence and reputation. I think of this especially when I'm faced with a circumstance that requires a tough decision. Assumptions are the attitudes formed through the company processes and the actions that inform what employees think. Artifacts are what a company represents, such as products, services, or processes they perform. When you combine these 3 factors, this is your company's organizational culture. Preserving your culture will serve as your guidepost, empower your people, and leverage your space more effectively. With these trying times, don't lose sight of the components that make up your organizational culture. The third area of focus is your facility and transforming the floor plate. Addressing your facility requirements will be a balancing act between comfort, performance, and risk. In order to bring your people back to the office safely, some things will need to change. Next, let's focus on elements you need in order to create a safer workspace. These are different design elements than what we're used to looking at. I never thought I would be discussing things like cleanliness as a design element before, but we also have new goals now, so it's time to think differently. There are several design elements to consider when we look at transforming your workplace to get your people safely back to the office. Look at your workforce as a whole and consider each design element and how it pertains to your transformation goals. Remote work is a major design element as it's the work style. Remote work is a major design element as this work style is now being used differently. How remote work is used for your business will change. Who can remain remote and for how long? Do you have people that can stay at home for a day or 2 or even 4 days a week? This answer will help you determine your new total occupancy. This will also help you with density. For cleanliness, you'll need to establish and communicate new guidelines for cleaning and evaluate certain areas that may need to change to accommodate cleanability. When you look at the things that you need to touch, it can really be an eye-opener. I had a friend tell me, I just pretend that everything I need to touch is covered with peanut butter. It can really make you think differently about cleanliness when you reach out to touch something. Safety will have many implications, such as shifting the workspace configuration to accommodate safer boundaries between your people. This one is tough because the very idea of safety is becoming a hot button and means different things to different people. Find a solution your company deems as appropriate and adapt this as we get new information from experts. There are still many gray areas that are unknown, and we can only work with what we know now. With density, look at your spaces and identify areas that may need rearrangements to provide proper physical distancing. Look at your circulation areas, at your workspaces, and look at your meeting areas. Interaction and collaboration means to provide a variety of physical and virtual solutions to keep your people connected. User control provides each individual a variety of ways they can do meaningful work. User control offers mobility, flexibility, and personalization. Technology is a powerful design element because it's what we use to communicate internally and externally too. Create protocols so your people use technology resources consistently and successfully. At DBI, we began to use Microsoft Teams as a new technology. Having successful technology can be a game changer. Now let's apply these design elements and discuss how you can transform your space and help create a safer workplace. Nearly all businesses have physical layouts that have a variety of different spaces. Here's an example floor plate design with a space planned solution before COVID-19 changed the way we need to work. The density of this design no longer works because it doesn't offer safe workspaces or safe collaboration. We need to create a solution that ensures a safe workplace for people to perform their best. This plan highlights assigned workspaces. In this discussion, let's focus on the blue circles, which currently represent assigned workspaces. There are spaces to work on open areas and private areas. There are also planned spaces where collaboration takes place. We came up with a revised arrangement that offers a safer workplace. Although the furniture itself hasn't really changed, we use the design elements to come up with a new solution that transforms the current floor plate to a place that supports employee well-being without sacrificing culture. Here's what we did. By rotating the work schedule of the open office occupants in the checkerboard placement, this provides a reduced density level in the open work areas. We removed some of the furniture in the collaborative areas to decrease occupancy levels. We provided new areas away from work points for people to connect from a safe distance. We added better technology in some of the collaborative areas to allow communication with remote workers. There's a migration strategy. Short-term changes are the quick reactions we make to get people back to work. Long-term changes are deeper projects with time to prepare and plan for better solutions. By looking at the current state of your work areas, we can come up with a short-term solution to get your people safely back to work. Then we can also look at long-term solutions when we're just not reacting to the pandemic situation. Most work areas can migrate to a better solution with proper planning along the way. There are different types of workspaces. This graphic places each type in one of 4 boxes. Workspaces range from open to enclosed spaces and from individual work to group work. I'd like to look at examples of each workspace and discuss the current state, short-term and long-term solutions so you can see reactionary and planned changes that could be made. We can also use the design elements we just discussed to consider how it pertains to our transformation goals. This is an example of a panel-based workspace. It's an open space with individual work. On the left shows the current layout. For the short-term solution, we could easily remove the center stools to control occupancy. We could remove the clutter around the work area, such as work tools, wires, paper management, and other paperwork piles to make cleaning the work areas easier. For a long-term solution, we could add glass to the panel tops to increase vertical separation. We could also spread out the storage in the center area, also to control occupancy. And here's my personal favorite. We could place barriers to deter visitors from entering within the workstation area. This layout shows a storage space example. For the short-term solution, we would use a checkerboard occupancy rotation to decrease the density. We'd remove the pedestal storage to deter visitors or place a sign such as "Don't sit here." For the long-term solution, we would add screens for a more enclosed work area. Change the seating orientation to further reduce density from 8 to 6 workers. Here's an example of a beam-based open workspace. We use similar changes and rearrangements to get short and long-term solutions. Here's a benching workspace. The short-term changes are simple. Remove clutter, increase distance. The long-term changes would include adding vertical barriers, staggering work shifts, and bringing back storage. Here's a different benching workspace example. The short-term changes would be easy by reducing the occupancy of the area. The long-term changes would include barriers around people to define boundaries. Adding a wall or other vertical barrier would help provide an adjacent place to meet that's safely located outside the work area. Here's a cafe example. In a shared space, cleanability will be critical. Assess materials used for cleanability and change them if necessary. For a short-term solution, remove or block off seating to provide proper distancing. Get cleaning protocols set in place that are clearly communicated. Think of my peanut butter covering everything example, as there are many high-touch surfaces here. For a long-term solution, you could make additional changes to the furniture arrangements. Fill in the odd gaps that currently look like a robbery has taken place, and create a space that doesn't look as empty. Private offices offer an advantage to employees because they're already enclosed. But look at guest areas and places where conversations may happen. Check the distances for guest areas and make sure proper distances are maintainable, or remove the guest seating altogether if it's too close. If the occupant may continue to work from home part of the time, consider adding a locker to store their personal items, so this space can also be used on days when the occupant is working remotely. If they don't already exist, consider adding touchless light switches with occupancy sensors for overhead lights and even on the task lights if needed. Conference rooms today are typically designed to maximize occupancy with many chairs that surround a common table. Here are some things you could do in these spaces. Introduce digital screens for virtual connections with remote people. Reduce the number of chairs and even place markers on the floor at proper distances to gently remind people to keep a safe distance. For long-term changes, look at high-touch surfaces for cleanability and change out materials such as wood and cloth fabrics that aren't as cleanable. Remove doors or prop them open to reduce high touch points and promote better air circulation. Consider changing the large center table to smaller, reconfigurable tables on casters for more mobility and user control. This is our last example within the workplace. The last work area to talk about is remote working. This is a picture of one of our own designers' work area at home. Working from home is about meaningful output in a safe environment. This could mean working from home or working remotely, which could be anywhere. Nearly all of us left our office in March with many unknowns of when we would be returning. We took what we thought we needed and headed home. It was shocking for many and exciting, but also very unknown. As time passed, the novelty wore off, and we learned different ways to successfully work from home. There are many different things we need to figure out in order to successfully work remotely. Virtual connections and new technologies, how to reliably get access to a company's network. For some companies, this was a forced shift to become paperless and quickly change processes in order to do business. Balancing work, home, family, and life in general became a new concept for some people. There are certainly perks to working from home. Getting ready for work seemed less important, and for some, unnecessary. I myself embraced the sloppy ponytail on top of my head. Commuting to the office shifted from driving to work to simply grabbing coffee and walking to the kitchen table. Another perk, of course, is spending time with family and our pets. There are also challenges. Socializing and engaging with colleagues, even just to say good morning, feels like a thing of the past. Virtual meetings are not the same as collaborating face-to-face. Let's talk more about that for a second. Many people don't want to be seen on camera. So removing that element also removes social cues that are normally present during face-to-face conversation. Body language can't be read or interpreted by the speaker as a cue to steer conversations in a certain direction. The depth of the conversational engagement can get lost as we wait for people to chime in. Have you ever been in a virtual meeting where people say things like, "Is anyone still there?" The different ways we communicate with colleagues gets more pronounced, which can cause stress and tension, making some people feel isolated or even left out. Some people enjoy typing rather than talking, while others prefer talking rather than typing. Our pets require attention that can disrupt a thought process or even disrupt a meeting. I was leading a Zoom call with a customer, and my cat walked into the room during the call. My colleague was in the middle of a really important statement to the client, and she stopped to say, "Oh, your cat is really cute." It was nice that she said that, but it also completely interrupted the meeting conversation. Balancing work time and family time can be confusing, especially for little ones, and difficult and stressful. Sharing technology at home, such as scheduling Zoom calls in a quiet place of your house, can be a challenge. Ergonomics of working from home, not having your normal tools to keep you comfortable, becomes critical. I've had many people tell me how much they miss their desk chair. I've even partnered with some clients to help them find ways to manage the process of loaning ergonomic chairs to their employees at home so that people can be much more comfortable while working remotely. Our perceived sense of productivity changes, which can be stressful. Am I still perceived as working if I'm not at the office? In some cases, tracking productivity becomes a new challenge. In fact, keeping track of what day it is can become a challenge. Working remotely, that normal daily routine we're used to, is no longer the crutch to remind us what day it is or what time it is, or even prompt us for meetings. We can create simple surveys or have conversations to help uncover the reasons why people come to the office instead of working from home, to help you understand what's really important to each person. Here's an example survey, which can help you determine which people need to come back to the office sooner, which can also help you determine the new occupancy to plan for. It can also help you understand which people can stay working from home for much longer than you may think. As you prepare to bring your people back, it's important to take time to determine who needs to come back first and for how often, or even at all. Okay, We've looked at the human, organizational culture, and facility perspectives of how to change your floor plans. We also looked at layout examples of things you can do to change work areas. We talked about the role of remote working. Now I'd like to take a different look of specific things you can do area by area. First, we'll discuss general changes and spaces outside your building. We'll look at many ideas for entrances, reception areas, and lobbies, open workstations and offices, break rooms and other gathering spaces, and yes, we even have ideas for restrooms too. Communication is key. Tell your employees and your customers what you're doing to keep everyone safe. Post these at the entrances. Discuss these with your people and your clients. Update your landline phone greetings. Update social media and your website. Include new standard operating procedures and changes to procedures to guests and staff who enter your building. People want to know what you're doing, and it's okay. Be specific. Here are possible things you can do outside your building. We'll be sending this presentation to you, so don't worry about writing all these. Make sure you post visible changes to your customers. Again, good communication is critical. Look at your traffic patterns, even on your sidewalks. Add signage. Look at your entry points. Add touch-free options to your doors. Look at seating areas. Post new policies. Post easy-to-see signage and be specific. Here are several things that may be relevant to your business and are things you can do. Some companies have even gotten clever and innovative with their changes to help make their people and their customers feel better about visiting their offices. Take a look at these examples. Look at your seating. Add barriers between seating. Maybe add markers on the floor. Offer hand sanitizing stations. Maybe even perform temperature checks for people entering your building. Now, I don't mean to get excited about temperature checks, but the new touch-free infrared forehead thermometers are really cool, and I wish they were around long ago. Add one-way walking traffic, especially in bottleneck areas. Add crowd control barriers. Close off high-touch amenities, such as drinking fountains, candy dishes, and magazines. Have customers wait in their vehicles or remotely check in if possible. Develop new cleaning practices for high-touch areas. Review cleaning recommendations from manufacturers so you don't damage your furniture with harsh chemicals. Offer single-use pens. Offer face masks for people who don't have them. Add tall barriers at transactional areas. Offer altered hours for guests with different needs. Some of the ideas listed here are repetitive to what we already discussed in other formats. There are lots of things that you can do to help in your open workstations and offices to make them safer and to get your people back to the office. Review the workstation spacing. Stagger working hours. Add glass partition toppers to increase vertical separation. Remove the clutter, such as wires and stacks of paper, for easier cleanability. Don't share high-touch items in the work area, such as pens. This means when someone wants to borrow a pen, it's now okay to say no. Add plants and other barriers at workstation perimeters. Remove guest seating or block it off. Clean work areas daily and more often if the spaces are shared. Change workstation orientations. Add technology that makes remote work more efficient. Add webcams for virtual meetings. Let's talk about cleaning versus sanitizing. Especially when it comes to furniture, if you have the option to clean, cleaning is always better than sanitizing because it adds a soap but then rinses it off, versus sanitizing, which just kills germs, but the sanitizer still remains. When we talk about furniture and other surfaces, this can build up over time. Think of doing a load of laundry. You add the soap, but it also rinses off and the clothes get clean. You don't want to damage your furniture by having something build up and get sticky. For break rooms and other gathering spaces, the main key here is to provide areas that can offer informal meetings that are appropriately spaced, and look at your high-touch surfaces. Remove excess chairs or block them off. Clean high-touch areas often. Eliminate touch points wherever possible. Keep doors open for better airflow. Look at surfaces that may be affected by frequent cleaning. Use floor markers for proper spacing. I've even heard of a flooring company that's now designing a 6-foot pattern repeat to add subtle reminders to keep your distance. Stagger schedules so breaks don't happen all the time. Who thought we'd be talking about making changes to our restrooms? Even spaces like these can be looked at, and depending on your business size, this may be a larger hurdle for some people. Restrooms have many surfaces that have high touch points and tight spaces. Here are a list of ideas to think about for possible changes you can make. If you can, prop the entry doors open. Add a hands-free option such as a foot door pull or an arm pull. Install hands-free options for soap, water, paper towel, hands-free flushers, and post signs near sinks that simply say, wash your hands. This can actually be humorous and creative. I saw a sign at a restaurant that said, I'm not your mom, but wash your hands anyway. We all need moments that make us smile. Block off stalls and sinks that are too close together. Increase cleaning frequency. Drinking fountains are by restrooms, so think about those high-touch areas as well. Our example picture is funny because the water bottle filling portion is already hands-free. It's the faucet where you touch your face or the on button of the faucet that should be not in use. Next steps. To create a workspace that will provide a safe place for your people and your customers, the next step is to take these ideas and put them to use. Develop a short-term plan that you can easily do today. Then, begin planning for more long-term solutions. This may be something you can do on your own, or it may be something you need help with. Hayworth and DBI have many ways to engage with people to use what we've learned to help them come up with a specific plan to get this done. Come up with a plan that's right for your culture and helps your people perform their best. We are all in this together, and we're all doing our best to help each other out. In fact, DBI is even providing a free assessment to our current customers and community to help them with this daunting task of how to create a safer workplace for your people. We even have an additional presentation about this assessment with more information. This slide shows an example of a floor plan assessment. This happens to be our DBI showroom, where you can help identify the spaces that are okay and the spaces that will need attention. If you think you'd be interested in this assessment for your business, just request that in the chat and we can send you a copy of that presentation and connect with you. This is quite a bit of information, and hopefully you saw and heard a few things to get you thinking about the things you can do to create a safer workplace. We discussed the importance of supporting your people, what your culture is, and why it's important to preserve your culture as you navigate the new normal. We discussed several ways to look at your floor plate and your facility and ways to transform your space with short-term and long-term changes. We also discussed the meaning of remote work and how this work type can be beneficial to your people. Finally, we shared our list of things you can do today. Still want to learn more? Here are several resource links you can use to learn more about the topics presented in this webinar, along with a few other related topics too. Hayworth has quite a few Spark articles that are always an interesting read. Spark articles are little pops on a certain topic that are quick reading but filled with great information. If you'd like to get on their mailing list to have these articles sent to you, just let us know. If there's anything you are doing that we didn't cover, please share that with us so we can add your creative ideas to the growing list of things people can do. Thank you.